Hi, good afternoon. This is the Dr. Software Russia show, and today I want to talk about the situation in the Ukraine. First of all, I'm a doctor of social science and history, economics, and politics and biology, and I lived in Northern England, I was in Israel, before returning to the United States in 2009. Now, first of all, the situation in Ukraine is a very complicated one. First of all, in 2014, there was the Orange Revolution, and we now know that was fomented and orchestrated by people in the U.S. State Department, such as Miss Nuland. And when the when President Viktor Kanashovich was overthrown, that I think sent um, alert and warning signs in Russia because Ukraine is very close to the Russian border. It's right next up against the border. And now to mention that the NATO is always expanding eastward. And so I think that forces Russia to react, first seize in Crimea, and then force them to launch an invasion of Ukraine today. The point of the matter is, this whole mess started when uh, Vicky Nuland, or Miss Nuland, at the United States Department with other elements, orchestrated a coup against the then president of the Ukraine in 2014 with the Orange Revolution. But then the president of the Ukraine was pro-Russian, wanted to stay with Russia. So when he was overthrown by elements in the West, the Russians became concerned, and that forced them to react to what's going on because they see um, NATO continually encroaching closer and closer against their border. That's first and direct. You might agree with what they're doing in Ukraine, but I think this whole thing about the current situation in the Ukraine could become traced back to what happened in 2014 when Ms. Nuland and her allies orchestrated the Orange Revolution in Ukraine and led to the overthrow of the government in Ukraine. And that forced the Russians to become concerned because they see NATO keep encroaching on their border and too close to their border. And that forces the Russians to respond. And it's a mess situation. I don't support one country better than another country, but the sole idea is that when you look from their perspective, the leader in Ukraine was overthrown through the Orange Revolution. That was Orange Revolution that was orchestrated by Ms. Nuland and the U.S. State Department, and that kind of forces Russians to respond because they need to keep encroaching on their border. Of course, they seized the Crimea, and after that they into, and then later on, a couple years later, they launch an invasion of the Ukraine because the Russia keep encroaching their border. So the moral of the story is regime change don't work. Never has, never will, and only create more crisis and problems. All right, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.